Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Ms. Phillips,
Here.
Mr. Rue,
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here. Has proper legal notice been given to the hearing?
Notice of a public hearing was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city, advertising the City Commission's review and discussion of the 2024 tax budget. Attached hereto is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on May 28, 2023.
I move that the communication be ordered, received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight is the kickoff of our 2024 budget, and traditionally that starts with the tax budget. Tonight we're talking revenues. The tax budget is a revenue document. You may be asking yourself why we're estimating 2024 revenues in June. We do that because Ohio Revised Code requires adoption of the tax budget, which we'll vote on later tonight, prior to July 15th of each year. So the tax budget serves three purposes. It establishes or requests millage for real estate tax collections, which I'll talk about in the next slide. It establishes the base revenue estimate for the upcoming budget year that you'll see in the preliminary budget that we present to you in November. And it combines those estimated revenues with estimated end-of-year unencumbered cash balances to set appropriation levels for the following year. So in December, when we bring you that appropriation ordinance for 2024, the revenues that we are certifying and projecting here are establish that appropriation capacity. We can't exceed those revenues. We'll move into estimated real estate taxes. As you know, for the general fund, our lifeblood is income tax. So the city has a few earmarked purposes that we receive real estate tax for. The first being the special police levy. That is at 3 mills, estimated to bring in a little over $3 million. The police and fire pension, which is at 6/10 of a mill, estimated to bring in a little over $600,000. And that is for old police fire pension debt. And then the Conservancy District is at 4/10 of a mill at $400,000, and that is simply just a pass-through. Then you'll notice here at the bottom of the slide, the 2023 assessed valuations are a little over $1 million. Last year for 2022, those assessed valuations were a little over $864,000. So, oh, am I saying thousand? Sorry, billion. Yes, let's go back to that slide. Yes, yeah, assessed values are at $1,012,004,000 last year. Yeah, sorry, last
The
year.
first time we've topped $1 billion.
It is. Yes.
So the evidence is that the city is growing and the value of real estate in the city is growing. And you said last year we were at about 800,000.
865 million.
So
Yes.
we've grown about one in, or,
Mhm. A little over 17%.
right. That's excellent.
Yep. That'd be through increased property values and obviously the development that we're seeing.
I was going to ask if any commissioners had any.
Oh, sorry.
You handled it well.
All right.
Any
so-
other questions from commissioners?
Well, we'll move into the general fund estimated revenues. What you see there in total is $57,338,220. 81% of that, which I will go into further, that percentage reflects income tax. That is a 3% increase over our revised 2023 projection. We hope to see turnarounds in some of the industries impacted by trade, inflation, and general economic concern, along with that continued development to increase our tax base. Move over and look at interest. We've certainly seen an increase from prior years in our interest amount due simply to the interest rate environment. fines, licenses, and charges are at $3,294,750. Other state shared taxes remains pretty consistent at $88,000, and that includes the cigarette and liquor tax. Local government fund is at $2.5 million. I'd just like to remind commissioners that at its highest, combined with the estate tax, generated roughly $5 million annually for the city. So we were certainly disappointed to see that the Senate passed state budget includes no proposed change to the local government fund, and actually with other income tax cuts that are proposed in that budget decreases the bucket for the local government fund.
I ask a question.
Mhm.
So the Senate version zeroes out the 4%?
This is just the 4% of our total
Oh, I see.
$57,338,220.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
they're
it is a 0% increase.
Yes,
over
it
last
remains
year.
at 1.7% of their general fund, and we project with some of the income tax cuts in that Senate passed version that pool in their general fund reduces what that 1.7% would be. All other is close to $4 million. That includes reimbursement from other funds back to the general fund. Right. Then I'll move into other major operating and capital funds. As you've already seen with the real estate tax, the special police levy, we estimate that to bring in $3,571,013. That includes those property tax amounts along with typical subsidy that we have from the general fund. The utility funds include charges for services for water, sewer, and stormwater. We anticipate that to be at $32,595,400. The street fund, which mainly includes gasoline tax, is at $4,265,500. The permanent improvement fund, which, as you're aware, includes 10% of each income tax dollar that we receive, the other 90% going into the general fund, along with transfers from a subsidy transfer from our general fund as we continue to make those much needed capital improvements that have been delayed in the past. And then the general fund, as we've already talked about, is projected there at the $57,338,220. Then I'll move into my last slide. So this slide highlights how dependent we are on income tax. As you'll see, we're up over 81% for 2024. 2023 is a little bit of a misnomer. We expect to receive reimbursement for some grants that we advanced in prior years, like for the NOMC building that was paid out of general fund, where we will be getting reimbursed by the feds and the state. So 2023, again, is a little bit of a misnomer, but you see from 2015 up through 2024, that increased reliance on income tax in the general fund. So I would just like to reiterate that we're grateful to the people of Springfield for the renewal of the levy as it continues to support the city and the services that we provide. So moving on from that, we will continue the 2024 budget process throughout the summer in our new ERP solution for expenses in the Oracle product that we've brought to you many times. And we'll be back to you in the fall with the preliminary budget. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Can we put this on our website like we did the EPA report from the last meeting? Can we
Yes.
go ahead and have that on there and point people if they have any questions, like an email address to ask about this?
Yes, we
Good
certainly
effort to
can.
be transparent with these numbers.
Any other questions, comments from commissioners?
It would appear that while times are good and jobs are expanding and growing in the city, we really benefit from reliance on the income.
Certainly.
But during periods of recession or depression, we're equally reliant and we're in somewhat of a bind. So truly, what you said about being thankful to the people of Springfield for supporting us and supporting our income taxing has really paid off for it and continues to pay off. We would be in deep, deep trouble had the people not forward him.
Certainly so, Commissioner.
Anything else from commissioners? Your motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved, seconded, clerk call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. The hearing scheduled for 6:50 is called to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Here. Has proper legal notice been given of the hearing?
Yes, notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed amendment to the sign district overlay map for 115.07 acres at 1801 Prime Parkway from manufacturing sign district to commercial highway sign district was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on May 21, 2023.
I move that the communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes and filed.
Second.
Ms. Phillips? Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Staff report?
Good evening, everyone. The applicant is requesting to change the sign district for the proposed sign. The current manufacturing sign district does not allow for pole heights to exceed 35 feet and limits the square footage area of signs. The requested commercial highway sign district will allow for proposed pole height and provides additional bonus for the parcel sign areas. In addition to city zoning, each parcel that is annexed to the city is assigned a sign district with specific regulations. Any amendments to the districts and regulations established are recommended by the planning board. And for this request, the CEDA Regional Planning Commission. Written reports from city staff state no objections and recommend approval. The City Planning and Zoning Division had commented that upon preliminary review of proposed signs, the sign area was found non-compliant with current manufacturing sign district requirements. If approved, the commercial highway sign district regulations will apply for sign permit reviews. The CEDA Regional Planning Commission recommended approval as well, and there were no questions or concerns from the neighbors at or after the meeting. Thank you.
There been any complaints received since all of the hearing?
No complaints.
Thank you.
My understanding that this is pretty much just an update to the sign zoning that we need to have for plot of land and other manufacturing facilities, right?
Yes, they are changing for them.
Else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second?
Moved and seconded, clerk call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
We have to wait a minute because the meeting.
Right, we have to wait till 6:55 because that's when we said we were going to have the meeting on this issue. Got one, little more than a minute left. A little less than a minute. clerk will. Yeah. Same roll call for this. Proper legal notice has been given to the hearing.
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning and approving a site plan for approximately 0.98 acre located at 541 Fair Street and 702, 708, and 712 South Yellow Spring Street from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District to RM20 Medium Density Multifamily Residence District was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on May 19, 2023.
I move that communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
And moving secretary, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Staff report.
The applicant is requesting to rezone subject parcels from a single-family residential zoning district to a multi-family residential zoning district as they wish to make use of property for proposed plan showing a total of 30 units, which will be 3 stories high and will have parking in the rear. The Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows this future character area as traditional neighborhood high intensity and identifies this area to be comprised of higher density housing types and permits multifamily use. Fair Street is classified as 60 feet collector public right-of-way, and South Yellow Spring Street is classified as 80-foot wide secondary arterial public right-of-way by the Clark County Thoroughfare Plan. An alley near the parcels was vacated in May this year. Spectrum and AT&T have easement rights within the alley, and it will be the responsibility of owner to locate facilities prior to construction and to request the removal of any facilities. The proposed plan will have vehicular access via Fair Street and pedestrian access from South Yellow Spring Street and Fair Street. The proposed development is intended to complement the surrounding areas. The conceptual plan is intended to be a guide for the development, and any material changes to it will require amendment of the plan. Return reports from city staff state no objections and recommend approval of applicant's request to rezone parcels from RS8 to RM20. The proposed plan and the rezoning to multifamily was recommended for approval by the City Planning Board. Prior to the planning board meeting, there was a question from a neighbor asking about the rezoning. The site plan and the rezoning were explained to them, and it was suggested they attend the meeting in case of more questions. The neighbor was not present at the planning board meeting and did not have any further questions till date. There were no other questions and concerns from other neighbors. The applicant has requested that the City Commission take emergency action on the request, as the project has received state funding and this rezoning is key for implementation of project funding. The city manager has accepted the need for affordable housing within the community and is support of the emergency expressed by applicant. Thank you.
Questions, comments from commissioners?
We've received any concerns or complaint after all of the meetings?
None so far.
You have to go to the microphone.
My name is Yvonne Owens. I live at 521 West Dibert Street, which is adjacent to here. Yes, I did complain. I called Jill. Jill forwarded me on to, I can't pronounce her name. That's her there,
City planner.
city planner. Called the city planner, left my name and my number, received no response. My husband in turn called the other planner, Cheyenne Shuttleworth, left a message, phone number, received no response. I would like to ask a question. With this zoning that they're doing, is this area the only area that's being rezoned?
Like in the city?
Yeah, no. In that district where we are right here,
Okay.
in our district,
Okay.
is that the only area that's being rezoned?
Let me turn that over to.
These are the only parcels. There are 4 parcels on Fair Street and South Yellow Spring Street that are up for rezoning. There are 4 parcels.
No, I'm talking about right here in our area we live in.
So you're talking Dibert,
Yes.
Western over there?
Yes, Dibert, Fair, with Fair and Dibert,
Uh-huh.
Liberty, Grand, all the rest of them, extending out. Are there any other areas that are being rezoned within that area?
No, these are the only
There
parcels.
isn't?
Within like a 2-block area, I think you're right, 2 or 3
Yeah.
blocks within there.
There
Is there any new zoning
Or any
request? I think that's what
upcoming.
she's getting.
Let me see if I can help. Right now, this is the only rezoning request before the city at this time in the southwest quadrant. That does not mean, however, that the city and the neighborhood and other individuals within the southwest quadrant are not looking at additional housing opportunities within that area. This is just the only one that needs to be rezoned and the only one that has a request before us right now.
And you explain to me what spot zoning is. Can you explain that to me?
The term spot zoning would be where you may have a residential neighborhood and you take one parcel and rezone it manufacturing. This situation would not meet that term because it is residential being rezoned to a different level of residential.
But it's the only area right now at the moment within our community that is being rezoned.
It is the only request before us at this time, yes. I don't want you to walk away thinking that there's not going to be any other rezoning requests that come forward. There could be. But this is an area that is surrounded by residential with a rezoning to residential, and so it would not meet the term spot zoning.
Ms. Owens, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes,
Is there a question that you, because these seem to be probing questions, is there, where are you leading your questioning to? Can you ask a question?
What I'm saying is that we that live in that community,
Yes,
in that
ma'am.
area, we do not want that there.
Okay.
It's going to be, explained to me, affordable housing, correct?
Correct.
Until with the affordable housing, that takes our property down.
So this was a concern that we also, so let me ask one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you guys know of another, something that you guys feel like the city has coming next that you have questions about? When you ask the question, are there more than one? Have you guys heard that there is going to be more than one? I thought I saw Ms. Dover shake her head. So maybe there could be clarifying questions on that specifically. And then also, I just wanted to add that if they are you asking if they're going to be like condos for ownership or are they going to be rental properties?
From what I'm understanding, this is rental.
Yes, ma'am.
It's affordable housing,
Correct.
3 stories high, 30 units.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was told.
Okay.
So as far as condos or anything like that, if it's affordable housing, then I'm looking at it, and you can correct me if
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
wrong,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, low income.
So I don't think that what we've been doing in the city is we try to add housing in, and I'm sure Shannon could give you much more explicit pieces. However, I just wanted to make you guys aware of that there have been multiple additional apartment buildings that are being built across the city. And so when we say affordable housing, it may not necessarily be low income. It's just something that a typical working class individual can afford that maybe may not have any post-secondary education that is working every day, trying their best to make their ends meet for their families. So making sure that we have all of the scales or the entire continuum of housing for the city. So affordable doesn't necessarily equate low income. And Shannon, please, and so I think a good question would be that you could possibly answer, and Ms. Owens, correct me if I'm wrong, would this be like metropolitan housing or anything of that nature? I think would be the clarifying.
So this development is proposed to be permanent supportive housing,
Okay.
which is affordable housing that also has on-site supports that are necessary for people who live there to be successful.
Sure.
This site would not be owned by Metropolitan Housing, and I know developer's representative is here tonight as well.
Cool.
So I don't want to speak too much, but I
Yeah.
also want to be transparent and answer your questions.
Sure. Would you, Ms. Owens, would you like to hear from the developer at this point?
No.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay.
I'm positive.
And so it wouldn't necessarily be when you think of, I grew up in the South End.
Yeah.
And I grew up in metropolitan housing. I don't think that the city is any way, shape, or form trying to repeat that model again. So that was, thank you for
Really?
that. So, no ma'am, I can't foresee that.
I do. I'm sorry.
Have some faith in
From
us.
the area which we live in, I do.
Okay.
Okay?
Please,
And I appreciate the information Jill gave me. And I would just like to say, I would like to be considered when I make a phone call and the notice says to contact, if you have any questions,
sure.
please get back.
Yes, ma'am. Understandable. I appreciate you.
Okay?
And then I'll also, if you have a moment right after, I'll give you my card.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that if you have further questions, you can call me, or Shauna has my phone number as well.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
and so does Mr. Otis.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else who wants to speak to this?
I'm Clayton Owens. I'm Von Owens' husband. I'm at the same address on Dibert. Make this sound like a speech, but I think we need to go back a little bit. City has been projecting Southgate and the Southwest Quadrant to be redeveloped for years. Money has come into the area for that. That money was not necessarily misused, but it was set on. This development, my understanding, was going to be similar to the things that have happened on Limestone. Well, it's a residential area. So therefore, there's some limits to how much commercial you're going to do there.
Sure.
So then, I don't know if it was a change or what, but all of a sudden, we're talking about housing that is not like Southgate, not doubles, which are like homes, but they're doubles. You're talking about building apartment complexes like on down near the railroad track of Yellow Spring Street. The one that they just emptied out, I guess, because it has to be renovated. That type of housing automatically, from history, gives poor people, low-income people, a place to live. And they need a place to live, but they are targeted in poor red line neighborhoods. I've been there since 1978. We've tried to keep our property up. No easy task, everybody knows that. But when you do this, and you build a apartment complex that's going to bring in not only low income, but people of questionable behavior, you're affecting all the loan owners, the homeowners, excuse me. The value of the property. Is our property value going to be affected? I believe so. The traffic. I'm looking at your parking lot. I assume you got a slot for every apartment. But when you move people of low income in an environment like that, you got a single bedroom, you don't have a married couple living. You don't have a family with maybe a couple small kids living there. You've got all the other dynamics that are involved in low income and young people that just kind of open the door. I don't want to confuse anybody, but to me, it seems like it's a purposeful act to place people of, of low income and maybe low character in the red line district. The red line district has been talked about for the last 40, 50 years, and persons it doesn't exist. Well, it exists, but it's not the city that's doing it. It's the banks, it's the corporations. Then it goes from there to, oh, there's no such thing. And now we're back talking about red line, even in print. Everybody knows what that means.
Yes, sir.
So,
I do.
Could you wrap up, please?
excuse me?
Could you?
Okay, so when you decide you want to do this in a poor neighborhood, my question is, what is your attitude about the people that own homes in that area who are going to be affected by this? Because it didn't happen out to Ronez, but everybody was concerned about it out there. The people that lived out there that own homes, they complained about it. It was done anyway. The area itself got bad, but it didn't affect the surrounding area. In the quadrant that I live in, it's going to affect the surrounding area, and in a negative. Okay, I've got more to say, but I only have so much time, so I'm gonna.
Can I respond to that really quickly? Can I respond to that really quickly?
Very quickly.
Mr. Owens, thank you for sharing that. Of course, I am very aware of what redlining districts are. Either way, if y'all don't have, I need y'all to have a little bit of faith in the city, because I sit here to represent that and to prevent those things from happening.
Okay.
So, I don't feel like there have been all sorts of housing that has been built. In my neighborhood, we have all of the elderly population, and then we've got some other apartments over, and I live in the east side, and then we got some other apartments being built right there, and those
But
people.
those apartments are doubles. They're not big.
No, sir. They're all.
Let's not get into an
Right.
argument, please.
So what I'm just addressing is that we're adding so much housing. If you guys have a problem with this housing that comes in there are individuals, as Shannon said, to support these individuals, but we need a place for all Springfielders to grow. And so over in the Northwest, it was conversations about whether property value was going to be lowered if and when the villager is up and running. Those are the things that we have people in departments that are working really hard to prevent those things. And if you guys ever hear anything that may be left to you, please reach out to me. Again, I will give you it's my direct cell number on my card. It doesn't go to my office, it comes to me. And Shauna can attest to, Lee, I'm available to be spoken to, okay?
Okay, I just want to say one other thing.
I think your 3 minutes was up, Mr. Owens. Okay, thank you.
The only comment I want to make about this is we have been developing these type of projects for over 50 years. They're all over Springfield, Ohio. They're not isolated in one area of Springfield. I can name you North Hill 2, the Shawnee, it used to be Shawnee was the very first ones that we had, the Shawnee apartments, and they're pretty much the same. But it's not done by the city of Springfield. I want to make that clear also. This is done by a private developer. Okay? It's going to be a tax credit project. It's sponsored by the state, and that he could not do this without money coming in from other entities. But the particular developer right now, this is not his first project. He's got several of these in Springfield that are very good. I'm very happy with the ones that are in the areas in which I travel every day. We don't have, you mentioned Ronez apartment. This commission made it clear we never, ever wanted another Ronez apartment, and we've never built anything like it. It was too big, and that did isolate poor people in one area. We're not doing that here. We are putting, I'm not arguing, I'm just pointing out what has happened in my tenure on this commission. They've been everywhere. And again, I think it's Springfield's responsibility to try to locate places that people can afford to live in all areas of Springfield. not just the south end or the north end or the west end. It's where, and a private developer is doing this. We didn't pick this out. This has been brought to us, and that's why we're trying to rezone it tonight. Thank you.
Wait a minute. You had your time. Please be brief. Go ahead.
Marcita Jeffries. I own Shade Space 2 beauty salon on Yellow Spring Street, which will be a block, maybe a block and a half away from this project. My thoughts are, with the type of low-income people we're going to bring in, why is it being put directly across the street? We've already pulled the record on the crime in this. Seriously don't need any more problems. My shop itself almost been broke into 3 times. I see where, I know you're not doing another today, but I see where the one on Pleasant and South Florida is also right behind a school. I think you're putting our children in danger. I know you're going to say you're going to vent the people, they're going to have support and everything, but people do slip through the cracks. And all it's going to take is one child to be hurt or hit. And you're going to have all of Springfield coming down on you because we're here. We're here ahead of time warning you that we don't want our children hurt. Now, I'm also here to find out what is it going to do to my land taxes? What is it going to do to my business? But first of all, it's the children. And I don't think the parents of the school know out and out that this is happening across the street from their school, or I'm quite sure more people would be. Now, why? I don't understand. Maybe you can explain to me. Why is this an emergency ordinance? Why can't we take our time and let the people know about it and let them speak on it? Thank you very much.
Did you want to speak, Shannon?
Hi, I'm John Stock, and I'm with RLH Partners. Bob Helmuth, who is the developer of the development, he was unable to make it tonight due to family issues. The development will be 30 units of affordable housing. It's been 3 years in the making. We've had to have a location change through no fault of the city. The city has been supportive of this type of housing before and would appreciate any consideration. We're looking to put our final proposals together to the State Housing Agency in the zoning, engineering, and architecture go a long way to getting this complete and getting the application process finalized.
Could you add just a little more detail of what it would look like? What does your final project look like?
It's going to be very similar to Mulberry Gardens, which is an existing facility. It'll be a 3-story building, brick, vinyl siding, elevator building, on-site social services, as well as on-site property management.
Are you guys familiar with the Mulberry, the housing on Mulberry? Yes, sir.
If we were to move to postpone this till our next meeting, what would it do to your plan?
We're trying to get this into the state so we can get the project moving. It would
What is
delay
the-
the project. It would be delays to the project.
So what is the deadline to the state?
We need to have the final architecture and engineering into them before November, but we can't start that without these approvals.
So 2 weeks would prohibit you from getting that done.
Potentially, yes. But I mean, I'm
Because
not
it-
the engineer or the architect.
Well, it seems to me that there would be some benefit to having further discussions between you and some of the residents of that area to work out some of the issues. Has the school district been involved in that discussion?
That, sir, I do not know. But
I think Shannon has just some pieces that she can add really quickly.
I hate to speak for the developer's representative, but I realize that you are at a little bit of a shortfall. So this project actually has been included in information with the school district as well as others in the neighborhood who came forward early on in the alley vacation process. I can tell you the city community development department hosted a meeting in the community development department with immediate neighbors. The developer did make some changes based on those conversations to the site plan and the layout as well as access agreements to some of the trees and other things. I think it's important, and Mr. Stock may not just have this background, to understand that this project and the developers' work within the neighborhood has been going on for many months. And I understand Mr. Stock doesn't want to give any definitives, but as the community development director, I do think that this project funding could be at risk the further it is delayed.
So the choice is do something that substantial number of neighbors don't want done in their area, postpone it 2 weeks, potentially put the project at risk, or just vote it down and be done with it, and then leave the area to whoever else would want to do something with it. Is there anything on the area now?
The largest parcel, the easternmost parcel, is the former lodge property, Masonic Lodge property. It experienced a catastrophic failure and was removed by the city a number of years ago. The parcels that face Yellow Spring Street have been vacant residential parcels that were removed by the city many, many years.
So at this point, there is no other proposal other than to leave these properties vacant for the short and long-term future.
We have no other proposals before us.
And is the concern that it's a competitive situation at the state level to get the funding that's necessary to build this project? Is that what the expeditious?
That is what was shared with us by the developer when they requested this be placed as an emergency item. The city manager reviewed that and felt that the request was compelling enough to place it as an emergency.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Shauna Dover, 537 Fair
Could you
Street.
speak a little louder?
Yes, Shauna Dover, 537 Fair Street. Our property is actually adjacent to where this development is planned. We also met with, my family and I met with the developer, Mr. Helmuth, and because we had concerns. Initially, the reason we met with the developer was because we were applying for the Mo-to-Own program for those parcels 1141 and 1142, as well as the properties across the street. So we had submitted Mo-to-Own applications for all of those vacant properties surrounding 537. And during that application process, it was then disclosed that this development was planned. So we had been very involved, and we expressed the same concerns as residents on the other streets on Dibert, et cetera, had expressed with regard to the low-income housing, the location across from the school, the ability to police a more high-density residential area. We addressed, addressed this from lots of different perspectives. In our meetings with both the city and with the developer, it was kind of out of our hands because the properties were taken out of the Mo-to-Own. It was a part of a proposal that had been submitted several years in advance. And so our recourse was really to kind of work with the developer, and because it was a moving train, the train had already gained traction, and we were advised that the rezoning efforts was basically the next step in the process of implementing the development project. So in our meeting with the developer, we did work because this directly affects our property. It directly affects it at property values, et cetera. So we are, highly concerned about security and the types of residents that are going to be there. And we were assured that the wraparound service, these are like one bedrooms and the wraparound services that would be on site, et cetera, and it would be supportive of the overall community. Mr. Helmuth also discussed the fact that so he shared Mulberry, but then also provided us after our meeting some records detailing that sometimes these properties do help property values. I'm not sure about that. That's not necessarily been my personal experience, so I can't speak to that part, but there have been other developments that were similar in nature, not in Springfield, but outside of Springfield, that did help bolster the residential area. So, to Crystal's point, I'm trying to have a little faith in the ability of Springfield rising, if you would, and becoming a better version of itself than it is currently. And so I think it's going to take community involvement and residents showing up at meetings and getting engaged on a regular basis and knowing what's happening in the city. I know I've encouraged residents to get back involved, show up, if you have questions about things that are happening, because there's lots of things happening around the city that if you're not paying attention, it's just kind of sneaking up on you. The changes are kind of sneaking up on you. So I would say that the city and the developer have been forthright in our communications when we've inquired. And like I said, we're right next door to this. So our family has huge concerns about how everything is going to play out.
Can I respond?
Sure.
So thank you, Shauna. Also, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm also a district administrator with Springfield City Schools as well. That's my daytime job. And so they've definitely been a part of that process as well. And also, again, I can give you my work information if you have questions about the school so that I can put you in touch with the appropriate person within the district. And also, if you need someone from the city, again, I am right here and I'm accessible to especially folks that live in certain sides of town that have been historically dumping grounds for whatever. You see what I'm saying? I cannot sit here and not object to things that could be based in systematic racism or sexism or any of the isms, right? And also advocating for those who have not been advocated for before. And I just wanted to assure you guys, just give us a chance. Reach out to me anytime that you're available. I'm sure that all the rest of the commissioners feel the same way, and we can connect you to the appropriate information. And Shauna, thank you for saying that the city and the developer have been forthright, and it won't necessarily always be individuals that I hear you guys thinking and saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that the concern is that you're already in an area that's high risk for an increase. But if we say, how are we going to police that? I think the next thing they're included in those things and during the development, right? And through this, it isn't something that the staff has just thrown together. And just moving forward, please reach out to me. And again, I'm going to say it again, just have a little faith in us in the city and know that I am here. I see that face, sis. But know that I am here, and I'm from the South End Metropolitan Housing. I would hate to see anything else like that be done again, because I lived in a neighborhood and I was raised with middle class values, but a neighborhood that individuals weren't allowed to come to my house and play because I lived on Johnson, where Lincoln Park Circle is and Lincoln Park South. and Superior, Gasaway Court, St. Clair Court. If y'all remember those, that neighborhood back in the up into the early 2000s. So that is where I was born and raised at. I cannot be on board with anything like that being rebuilt because I know the impacts of that. So please, if you just again step out on faith and please reach out to any one of us. If you're more comfortable with me, please do so. Okay, please.
Thank you. Make it brief, go ahead.
Be brief. So I would like to address Ms. Owens.
We can't hear you.
I just wanted to make sure I had her name, Ms. Owens' name correct. So Mrs. Owens asked if there was another project that was proposed and not right here, but across the street where the vacant lots are, there is another project that has been proposed for doubles. So that is another area. That's all.
So when the commission gets together on an annual basis, we talk about goals and objectives for the city of Springfield. One of them is a comprehensive housing plan. And this also meets the objectives of making sure that we have different and diverse opportunities for people to have good quality, safe homes. So this lines in two ways why I would support this effort. I think your concerns are absolutely legitimate. And I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know how to honestly address them other than saying I'm empathizing with you, and I understand your concerns. I would be more concerned if there wasn't a quality developer coming in proposing this, somebody that wasn't going to do a quality job. I think this company has proven that they would do a quality job. I think your concerns are real, but this does line up with two of the things that are objectives as a commissioner: make sure people have safe and affordable housing, and also part of our comprehensive housing plan for the community. But thank you for sharing everything that you did. It's important to say it.
And in adding on to that, is the developer going to also manage the property as they do other ones in town like they have? Can't hear your
Yes,
head.
Bob Helmuth will be managing and working with the service providers on this development also.
Not only during the development, but during the time that it's there?
Ongoing, yes, sir.
Okay. That's important.
Did you want to speak? Please be brief.
Otis Williams, 1627 Yorkshire Court. This conversation is very good and needed because what you're dealing with, not just redlining, because it's a distressed neighborhood too. So the kind of people that's going to come there, not going to be just low income, going to be people that might be able to afford, but they're not going to be staying there because of distressed neighborhood. The money's going to be hard to put. That's going to be the biggest issue you have. These people have true enough because they need to be affordable housing is one thing, affordable life tenant is another. So you're going to draw some kind of people that might be able to stay in there and do what's necessary to keep the neighborhood up. You need to look at that along with redlining. Banks do not loan in distressed neighborhoods. Banks loan to make money. That's why the distressed neighborhood came about. Those people moved out because they didn't get the money picked up. But now we're in this situation here. This is a good idea, but you have to take a good look at it, like Rule said, like Eavesdrop said. Discuss it further and make sure you look at all the circumstances that might come out of this. Thank you.
I want to sum up what we've been through to say thank you for coming down and assure you that we will work with people to try to address the concerns you have of what may happen. But I think it doesn't have to happen. I think we can find ways to hopefully keep it a mixed neighborhood. We'll see. That's certainly the goal of the people who are doing this. So, but thanks for coming down and expressing your concerns. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a question?
No.
I think that would be the first time. Dr. Estrop put a motion on the table to maybe table the.
I did not make a
second.
motion.
Well, what are we going to do with the emergency when it comes?
There was no motion, no anything. We're
Okay.
doing nothing.
Yeah, I did not move because this would not be the appropriate place to do it if we were considered.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Just didn't want to
But,
slip past you, Doc.
Yeah, no, we're good right.
Okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. I think that completes our
Public hearings.
sessions before we start the commission meeting, right?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Are we ready to start a commission meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
The city commission meeting is called to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Our God, we're grateful for citizens who care about what happens in their community. Help us to make decisions that improve the lives of our citizens and protect our citizens from deterioration. Thank you again for this opportunity to play a role in improving Springfield. In your name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance, flag
Of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to,
So moved.
Second.
and moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Clerk will proceed with first readings.
Confirming and approving a 2023 Community and Litter Grant Agreement to accept a Recycle Ohio grant through the Ohio EPA for funding in an amount of $11,635 to be used for the purchase of recycling receptacles for the downtown Dora district, and authorizing the city manager, director of finance, and law director to do all things necessary for the execution of the agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a development incentive agreement, single-family residential development, with Leanne Morris to provide for water and sewer services to real property outside the city limits, and confirming and approving related services provided from December 16, 2022 to the effective date of this ordinance. Authorizing the finance director to purchase up to 2,200 tons of rock salt for the 2023 and 2024 winter season from Morton Salt Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $158,092 through the Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program in accordance with the provisions of Section 5513.01B of the Ohio Revised Code.
Any questions on first readings? Clerk, proceed with second reading.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 0.935 acre at the northeast corner of West Pleasant Street and South Lowry Avenue, Springfield, Ohio, from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residential District and CO1 Commercial Office District to CI1 Intensive Commercial District.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an employment incentive agreement with Liberty Remodeling Company to incentivize the renovation of its facility located at 25 Snyder Street to create employment and new investment in the city. Authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to do all things necessary to implement the said employment incentive agreement.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Amending ordinance number 9190 passed March 12, 1991, and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio, by repealing and replacing chapter 165 entitled Airport Advisory Board by amending the term limits of its board members.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments?
I would just again like to thank all of the people who have served or are serving on our airport advisory committee. what's going on at Springfield Beckley Airport is incredible in terms of the potential impact it will have on the economic development of our city and jobs in this city. So our thanks to everyone that makes our airport a very successful venture.
Else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for the planning and zoning code update project with ZoneCo LLC for an amount not to exceed $160,905.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
When was the zoning code last updated? We know.
Was in 2001.
2001. So it's over 20 years old now.
Yes.
So this is clearly something we should be taking a look.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the issuance of a purchase order for the purchase of a mobile command unit from Tesco Specialty Vehicles LLC for an amount not to exceed $100,000.
Move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I think this was mentioned in one of our retreat sessions that somebody would like to have this. How about the chief? Would you like to talk about that?
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Copeland and Commission. So what this would be, this is a vehicle that would allow for us to support an incident command structure at major scenes and planned events. So mobile command vehicles support the management of these events by providing safer workspaces for command and control capabilities. It provides a setting for a more efficient workspace where our folks who are taking on an incident command role are out of the elements. It will also help foster an environment to facilitate collaborative sound decisions, allowing for peaceful resolution to situations. And that's our biggest thing, right? So when we talk about the crisis negotiating team, they play an integral part in the peaceful resolution and situations that we're called out to handle. So it's definitely an imperative purchase for our police division. It'll allow us to safely and better serve and protect our community. And again, it'll enhance the operations of the crisis negotiation team, allowing them to, be in safer workspaces, a quiet environment to help them come to a peaceful resolution so it does not escalate a situation.
Idea.
Thank you.
Anything else from commissioners? Anyone in the audience want to speak? Clerk will call the roll.
Thank you.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Amending the sign district overlay map, Springfield, Ohio, as adopted in ordinance number 10317 by amending 115.07 acres at 1801 Prime Parkway, Springfield, Ohio, from manufacturing sign district to commercial highway sign district and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning approximately 0.98 acres located at 541 Fair Street and 702, 708, and 712 South Yellow Spring Street, Springfield, Ohio, from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District to RM20 Medium Density Multifamily Residence District, and approving a site plan for said property and declaring it an emergency therein.
So
I move that we postpone this item until our next commission meeting in order to assure there can be further discussions between the city, the developer, and the residents of this area.
Second.
Second. I'm already going ahead. I'm ready to vote on waiting. I wanted to jump out there and say that. Appreciate it.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Yes. I think it's important that we listen to people and we work toward solutions when at all possible. That's what we've sort of prided ourselves on as a commission, is looking for ways to solve problems. I want to make sure we've allowed time for that to happen, and I understand the time constraint that you're on. But I think it's important that we give a due time and listen carefully to the residents who will be mostly affected by this, many of whom spoke this evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Commissioner. I also can just add, and I want to thank you for your comments and the comments from the community members. If we can get your contact information so that at the end of this, our community development team can reach out to you. I want to make sure we're filling those communication gaps and make sure everybody is heard. Thank you.
And if I might suggest, perhaps the city and the developer should go to the neighborhood and meet there with the neighbors, as opposed to asking them to come to City Hall with all going on around us here. I think we should meet them more than halfway.
And you think this delay will cause a big problem? Okay. Anyone else?
I've got those cards ready for you guys for after the meeting, okay?
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payment therefore and declaring an emergency therein.
I'll move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring an emergency therein.
I'll move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Adopting the tax budget of the City of Springfield, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024, and submitting the same to the county auditor and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Providing for the issuance of notes in the maximum principal amount of $103,500 in an anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of improving the municipal water system, including replacing water lines, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency therein.
Move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Mouse. Carry. Providing for the issuance of notes in the maximum principal amount of $43,000 in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying the cost of improving the municipal sewer system, including replacing sanitary sewer lines, together with all necessary appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency therein.
I'll move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Dr. Estrom,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Providing for the issuance and sale of notes in the maximum aggregate principal sum of $855,100 in an anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay the cost of constructing sidewalks, curbs, and gutters comprised in the 2022B Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program at various locations throughout the city, and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I have a
Yes.
question. Where would be the, do we have any examples or actual locations where we're already planning to do this out? If so, can it be shared out?
Thank you for your question, Commissioner. Chris Moore, our Service Director, will follow up.
So this particular legislation is for the work that has been and will be going on in the Lane Edition. Every year we do the sidewalk, curb and gutter 1 year in advance of where the paving is going to happen. So some of the paving has happened there, some will be happening, and that's what this is for.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
That's not cooperating. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a grant agreement for fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025 community corrections programs by and between the city and the state of Ohio, Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, Division of Parole and Community Services, Bureau of Community Sanctions, to accept a grant providing funding up to an amount $307,584 for fiscal years 2024 and 2025 for the operation of a community-based corrections program by the Clark County Municipal Court, authorizing the city manager, finance director, and court administrator of the municipal court to do all things necessary to implement said grant agreement and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the
I was just wondering if a staff member might give us some additional information about what these funds will be used for.
Yes, Commissioner. So this is an annual grant. It's the same amount each year, and it reimburses a portion of salaries for municipal court on the probation side.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Majors Enterprises Incorporated for the Northridge Waterline Project for an amount not to exceed $493,851.12 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Majors Enterprises. Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Majors Enterprises Incorporated for the Broadway Utility Upgrade Project to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $14,965 for a total amount not to exceed $398,738.01, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and L.J. DeWeese Company Incorporated for the Columbia Streetscape Project rebid to increase the contract amount not to exceed $115,126.75 for a total amount not to exceed $938,302.45, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Is this the area immediately by the Springfield Burial Ground? Is that what we're talking about here?
I'd like to have Mr. Moore come back.
Yes, this is the project that's currently underway between Wittenberg and Limestone Street.
Very good. Thank you. It's the whole area is significantly improved, and want to thank all the people that were involved in restoring that historic cemetery, and the street improvement will simply add to that.
I
Looks
agree.
real good.
Very much agree.
Anyone else? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
The next item was added to the agenda, authorizing the city manager to enter into an amendment number 2 to the project agreement with Wolford Incorporated for consulting services at the Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport to extend the period of performance to December 10, 2024, authorizing an additional expenditure in an amount not to exceed $730,000 for a total expenditure not to exceed $1,380,000 and declaring an emergency therein.
So move.
Second.
Seconded. Questions, comments?
I'm going to,
Rob?
can we have a staff member talk about this major change order?
Yes, Commissioner. So as you're aware, we've already talked about tonight all of the momentum out at the airport. And so in working with Wolpert and FAA, they've identified some larger projects that opens us up to additional grant funding through 2024 that we can have Wolpert provide the master services agreement as part of their efforts. And that includes reconstructing Taxiway C, wildlife fencing, and other projects. Also like to note from a finance perspective that while this looks like a large number at the $730,000, we anticipate $66,000 to $77,000 being local match that's coming out of PI dollars.
Excellent. Thank you for explaining.
You're welcome.
Going to simply add, we have done very well at the airport this year on accessing FAA grant and grants from other organizations like the Air Force, Right Pat, and so on. So this is, as I see it, an investment on our part to continue to experience growth at our airport, and I will be supporting this measure.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. That concludes our agenda. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Are there any comments from commissioners? Anyone else want to speak to us? There's a limit of 3 minutes.
Thank you. Otis Williams, 1627 Yorkshire Court. I was present last week. I don't know if it was just because Juneteenth or whatever. At a town hall meeting, Commissioner Rue was there on the panel. A lot of questions were thrown out by young people said they have no place to go, no one to talk to. They don't want to be snitches telling on their friends, and they don't trust the police. This is a big concern. Those young people want to be heard, not just listen. Mission needs to step up some kind of way, help form some kind of presence that the young people look and say, I respect these people. I can come to these people and ask questions. So they're looking up and they see the police turn and run. But they see a commissioner be willing to ask questions. These people here now because they had issues and questions. Young people have issues and questions too. They're all going to start coming down here too. We have worked for our day. These young people are working for their tomorrow. We need to listen to what they're saying. And if we don't, we're going to miss a whole generation. I lost a nephew who was a sheriff, deputy sheriff, Matthew Yates. He gave his all for this community to bring it together. If we don't pick up on that, we lose a golden opportunity to come together and stay together, make a difference. As I said before, distressed neighborhood is not where a lot of people want to live. Building a complex is a good idea, but the type of people you're going to attract is not going to be what you want. It's going to be what they need to be in that neighborhood, not what that neighborhood wants to be. Thank you.
Just to comment to Otis, there were several young people that asked a lot of questions. I believe they had felt that they could, and that was good, and I felt like they were heard. I also think that you just need to acknowledge the fact that we postponed this vote, and that's something that you need to remember that we heard and we listened, we acted tonight, because I want to make sure, as Dave already said, we want to hear, the whole commission wants to hear from the community more on this issue. So, the next time you're going to post something that we don't care about the South End, it's just not true, Otis. We do, and we do everything we can from a governmental standpoint. As Ms. Crystal already said many times, she cares, we all care. By the way, Commissioner O'Neill was at the tent meeting as well hang on real quick, on Center Street. And so he was there in participation and listening. And I know he heard the young kids speak as well. So we do care, Otis, care as much as possibly can right now and do what we can from this government seat. And we'll continue to try. And that's all you can hope for, right? You have commissioners that want to try to do what we can. Okay.
You could do as
Thank
a leader. A leader's job is entitled to people they lead
Yeah.
to be better citizens for their community.
Yeah.
Not doing that, leader's role is not in.
Well, I think you have a negative perspective right now. But thank you.
Well, in answer, I wanted to comment to him, and I'm really glad I went to that meeting because I walked away with some projects on my agenda to work with, as I talked to you about a little bit, Otis, and I talked to the chief about those. And there's some projects that we can work on and see if we can't bring them closer to fruition to make our community, not just the South End, I guess keep pointing, a better place. No neighborhood deserves some of the things that were talked about that are going on. And I know the chief agrees with that.
And I also, Mr. Otis, have been working with Chief, I always want to call you Chief Allison, and then I work with somebody else that's Allison Officer, not confusing at all. I'd be more than willing, I'm here for the kids, and the population of students that I work with. Most of the students I work with have significant social emotional needs, and that's my area of expertise on that end, and that. So I've already been working with Chief on getting some things in action. So I'd be more than willing to set up with Shannon or Chief Elliott on how do we create some groups where they can take turns maybe to come down to City Commission. And I will urge the kids in the high school and kids that I come in contact with along with parents to start attending as well. I've also made sure I started putting up on Facebook, City Commission tonight, please pull up. So we just got to do our fair share, as Rob was saying, and just understand that we really are working hard to be fair and have equitable processes and places for all individuals in Springfield. I'm always, again, for probably like the 18th time tonight, I'm born and bred in the South End, and it's made me who I am today. But there were some negative aspects that came out of that I don't want to see repeated. So you have an advocate and ally, okay?
Name and address for the record, please.
I am Kelly Clark, and I don't know why, but my interest was piqued talking about the airport. Is there an opportunity for some of our children to be in programs at the airport?
Well, actually, I can answer that if I might.
Please go ahead.
Thank you.
So formal.
The Global Impact STEM Academy was founded with one career path initially. That was Ag Bioscience. Starting this fall, they will be adding a second career path featuring aerospace and aviation technology. So the answer to your question is yes. I also know that Dr. Hill, the superintendent of Springfield City, has asked, can we work with you? As they already have some aviation engineering courses at Springfield High currently. They were there when I was there. And students can take those courses too. It's like an introduction to engineering, and it features all kinds, including aviation sectors. So the answer to your question is yes. In fact, one of the things that we in Springfield have that has put us in front, as far as I'm concerned, over development of some of these new technologies and some of these additional job opportunities, is we have an education system that can serve as a pipeline to those jobs that are already at the airport and the many more that will hopefully come to the airport. Our kids can get in line today for those jobs.
Unlimited enrollment for those programs.
The enrollment, they are growing. Their current enrollment is 600. They are anticipating expanding it to almost twice that enrollment.
For high
And
school
the
kids?
campus will be split between the Dome and being on the Clark State campus for grades 10, 11, or is it 11 and 12 or 10, 11, and 12?
And that's Giza, Ms. Kelly.
That's
Oh, I thought
Giza.
you said-
Global impact on where the old South High School at the Dome, there's, it's split in two. One half is used by Springfield City Schools. The other half is used by the Global, and what is it? Somebody give it to me. Give me the Giza
Global Impact STEM Academy.
Thank you. And so, my nephew actually attends there and so does my niece. So they are, rising 10th graders. It's a great school.
So are all 600 of those slots filled?
Right now, they are. In fact, the reason the school is growing is there is a waiting list and they have to hold a lottery to determine which students get in. So that's why they're expanding and growing, is because they can offer more seats and because they're expanding their course offering.
Or I meant for the program actually at the
I think we're talking about two different things. Dr. Estroff answered how many students are at GISA. You're asking how many opportunities are there with the flight mobility, which I don't know if there's really programs available
There-
right now
there-
to sign up.
These will come as the program goes. There aren't any programs per se at the airport. There are jobs at the airport now. And what we hope is that our students will enroll in the coursework that makes them eligible in the very near future to take some of those jobs. And we hope to expand the number of jobs at the airport. With the building of the new National Center of Excellence out there, you're going to also see housed in this new facility at the airport, OSU, Wright State, Dayton University, Clark State, and many other educational institutions, colleges and universities working with each other collaboratively to develop the kinds of things that are being developed at the airport now, the air taxis, the drones, the electric propelled planes, all of that. And the building gets finished, as I recall, this fall. Am I correct on that? I think it opens this fall, and that's when everything will kick off.
And I also wanted to mention the School of Innovation. They have a drone program there, and that's at Selma Road. It was formerly Kiefer Academy. So they're also at that building, which is connected to Springfield City Schools. It's a high school. So they do have drone, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's good.
That course is there.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
just thinking about vision, get kids interested. Because I
Sure.
know that my first experience at the air show just like changed my life. So, in my perspective, I never saw a show like that. So, to have the children be able to early on see the opportunity in aerospace or aerodyne, whatever.
There
Sorry,
are
I'm a
some
little
of
nervous, but
there are
thank you.
some events coming up at the Springfield Airport,
Okay.
and if you go to our website under the airport, Springfield Beckley Airport, you can see, because we're having everything from barnstorming to ground installations of planes. So please take your children. There's a lot of activities geared to the kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Their motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estroff?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.